Hi, I'm Lisa Mayer from Optimised Podiatry, just sharing with you some toys that you can play with to help strengthen the musculature of your foot, particularly the little muscles of the foot that are involved with bunion development and clawing of the toes. So it's about using something that can go between the toes to allow a better alignment of the musculature that supplies to the toes, and then resisting and using the musculature and sending the right messages from your brain to get the muscles working. So some of it's about neurology, some of it's about strength, and then some of the movements are about patterning. So if we start with just using some simple little dividers, these are just little pom-poms that I found at Kmart, and I've placed them between the toes. You could use something like the dividers that are used for any sort of nail work, but it creates a separation of the toes, which allows you to actually pull the toes into the ground without flexing them and curling them. So we want the toes extended, separated and pulled into the ground, and at the same time you'll be creating a raising of the arch whilst keeping the ball of the foot on the ground. So the tension should be felt in the foot, in the arch area, particularly this area of the foot, as well as across the transverse arch of the foot. You can then put pressure against your big toe to make it engage, to get a little bit more of the musculature involved that's helping limit the amount of deviation of the big toe. You can put pressure out and then push in. So there's a squeezing action happening with the toes. I've just used some putty that I got in just a little pot. The putty's quite firm, but it can be molded in and around the toes, and again we get a tactile element around the toes, separation of the toes, and then the toes can again go through the arch pulling movement so that you get the sensation. We want toes held up in the air and then extended, pulled out to the ground, not really wanting the foot turned to the side. It really is just a movement that keeping the foot in contact with the ground, raising the arch whilst trying to keep the ball of the foot on the ground. Then using simple little toys like these little rubber toys. They fit in quite nicely. They're a little bit firmer than the pom-poms, but again we get that idea of separation. This was a little duck. It fits quite nicely in between the smaller spaces, and you can pull back. You can pick these things up as well. It just makes it a little bit easier to see if you're playing with something. And lastly, trying to actually get the toes extended and some leverage happening. So toe extension, weight bearing and leverage, and then pulling the toes into the ground, raising the arch. To get a little bit more effect, we can pull the big toe into a more retracted position, separating the lesser toes out, and then putting pressure on the big toe to try and push to the side whilst you're resisting it. So I hope those ideas help, and that you use these exercises on a daily basis. Once to twice a day would be fantastic. All the best. Thank you for watching.